Welcome to Meany Center for the Performing Arts.
Hello, my name's Juniper Shuey. I work backstage at Meany Center, and I have been working there since 2001. I started full-time in 2006, but in 2001 I started as an overhire working on stage. I had actually graduated from the ceramics program at the University of Washington, and right after that I started subsidizing my art career by working as a stage technician backstage. That was a way for me to make money while I tried to create what I call video sculptures at that time. So since we're doing these living room concerts, I thought since I don't play an instrument, I can't really create a concert. I thought I might run you through some of the works that I have created with my artistic partner Zoe under the company name Zoe Juniper, which we started in 2005 and has been happening the entire time that I've been at Meany Center. So I'm just going to show you in the background, or I'm going to switch over to, and hopefully you'll be able to hear, but the sort of a little montage of the works that we've done since 2005. Then I'm going to show you a little more in depth in a installation that I've done. So I'm going to get that started. This is the, turn down the audio a bit just so it's not so crazy. But these are the stage works that we did starting in 2005. This work right here was 2005, and then this was 2008. Piece where we made it snow over the entire stage with 4 snowbags. I came from ceramics department, but I was creating video installational works. And so when Zoe and I started collaborating, this is where we ended up. This was a collaboration that also brought in Celeste Kooning on this one. This was a piece called Begin Again. This happened in 2012, or in that genre. Each project that we do, usually the way we've set it up, because we're very sort of an installation, performance, and photography type artistic company. Each one of these projects sort of tries to encompass all 3 of those forms at some point. So you'll have a stage piece, and we'll have an installation piece, and we'll have photography that goes around that piece. And so that you're sort of seeing the imagery of these pieces, and you're hearing some of the music. The music we're listening to right now is from the piece Begin Again. This piece right here is called A Crack in Everything, which I'm going to show more in depth of the installational aspects of this piece. But this is the trailer to the performance that happened at On the Boards and then toured to New York Live Arts, or at that time I think it was called Dance Theater Workshop, and also this one toured to like New Zealand. Begin Again went to New Zealand, sorry. But there was also at Bates Dance Festival. I went to Cal Arts down in to the Red Cat Theater. So this is just a trailer, so you're just sort of seeing the sort of overall quality of what the piece kind of looked like. Obviously you're not seeing a lot of choreography. And then this was like the last major work that we did, called Clear and Sweet. It was a more it was in the round, so there was audience on all sides, so it was a much more intimate piece, but we still found ways to bring in our visual world as well as the audience into that visual world. And you're sort of seeing some images of that. But this was done, we toured this during 2016? 2018. So it's our most recent large-scale work. Again, it was at On the Boards, Bates Dance Festival, New York Live Arts, different places like that. It started off in New Orleans at the Contemporary Art Center. We had a big residency there. We also had, with that piece, had a residency at Bellagio, the Rockefeller Center in Italy. Quite an amazing experience to be there for 2 months that was 6 weeks with other artists and humanitarian people who were all in a residency with us. This is just sort of a series of clips of different things. These are commissioned works that we did on schools. So this is Boston Conservatory. You saw Cal Arts. This might actually be Cal Arts as well. This piece was based on the music of Bolero. We did a recent talk about 11. That's what this piece was called. With Velocity. And Velocity has helped. Zoe's done some teaching residencies and then commissions where you create a work with the students. And then this will go into some of the imagery of A Crack in Everything, and I'm going to show you, this is a close-up of one of the videos that's in that installation. So we're using the imagery of A Crack in Everything that we use for the stage piece, but then we recontextualized into an art installation. This was another video that we did in that installation where we built a mirror wall, and then I filmed Zoe in that mirror wall. And then this is a different version of that kind of weird world where you have 2 different video projections acting as a mirror commentary on the space. So let me just go to this other video. So this is an installation done at Diverse Works in Houston. Zoe got with Diverse Works, got a Princess Grace Foundation Award and a Princess Grace Award that has helped us incredibly to make this very interesting large-scale installation. You were just seeing the main entrance room, and then now we're sort of walking down through the space. There's 3 different chambers to this space. The first one was that mirrored hallway, and then the second one was the screens, and then this final room where you have the sort of close-ups of some of the emotional videos of the Crack and Everything. So now we're going to cut into some scenes of, like, this was when the performance was happening. The audience was viewing it as an installation, and while that installation was happening, it was created into an hour-long loop, and we created inserts where performers could come out and do certain actions at certain times based on the sounds in the soundtrack, which we created into an hour-long loop. So the video and the sound and the installation was basically built as an endless, timeless loop, but there were markers where the performers could come out and do different performances while, the audience was wandering around the space and being a part of the installation as well. So these are images of that. At the time, we were really thinking a lot about kind of the inner and the outer worlds of our own experiences, and creating kind of ways to metaphorically communicate about the idea of creating a wall or a way of protection when experiences happen in our lives, how we sometimes open ourselves up more and other times we close ourselves down. And so we just were trying to metaphorically play around and sort of ask questions of those kinds of experiences. Sort of like overarching general idea of what the Crack and Everything kind of built off of. And then this is all imagery and metaphorical performance that we came up with from that. Each project that we do is about 3 or 4 years. So you can see we sort of delve pretty deeply into different ideas and different ways of expression with the types of art that we do. So Zoe approached this coming at it primarily as a choreographer and dancer when we met, and then I came at it. I was in the ceramics department at the University of Washington, actually graduated from there, and I was working not in ceramics, but I came from ceramics. I was working in video projection, and I called them video sculptures. I was projecting video onto three-dimensional objects and creating video sculptures. And at the time I was also represented by the Howard House when Zoe and I first met, and I had my first solo show there. This was many years before this. Zoe and I met in 2002, so not long after I started working at Meany and trying to become contemporary artist that doesn't make objects. Or I make temporal objects that are both light and physical in different ways, but without the other doesn't quite work. You can see on these voile fabrics that I had hanging in this room left when projecting people kind of created almost a holographic feeling, because we just walked around the edge of that fabric and you kind of see how that experience when you're in the space would have been. And then we also played around with real and non-real and video interplay for the performative action aspects. So there's like, you could have the performers in there, but then you could also not have the performers in there, and both things would have a different kind of feeling, but not be completely, you wouldn't be losing out on something. You just get to have a different experience. So that was kind of the goal of these kinds of works. And in Crack and Everything, we were dealing with a lot of like the idea of layering that onion that is ourselves, the sort of peeling back the different layers of ourselves and our experiences to become a full experience, a full life. So we played around obviously with action and stillness, allowing people to have their own experience. They could walk around the space, walk through the space. This film shot is kind of what essentially the audience was allowed to do. It was like if they were allowed to move through the space, they weren't restricted. Obviously, it requires audience to be respectful, because if in the same way that you would be respectful of any other person in the place. And again, this is all timed, predetermined timed wise, of like when the music is playing in a certain way, these different actions are happening. You can see people moving around, sort of trying to have their own three-dimensional experience. So now we're going into the primary place that had sort of an evolving loop was the center area, where we had these two voile screens and two projectors shooting across the space, and then in the middle was that dance space, which was just a slightly elevated little platform so that you could make it softer, so it wouldn't hurt dancers' knees if they move around too much, because concrete can be tough for dancers. There was a section in A Crack and Everything where we had a vinyl wall, and on that vinyl wall, Zoe was working on these drawings that she would do using her body as outline, but then also at the same time drawing it, created a very interesting series of lines that kind of have humanistic qualities, but also action and reaction. And then as a video, you can have those lines actually be erased, which is what's happening here. Then there was also during this project, I came up with this way of editing video so that you only see the motion. So then we created a series of choreographed pieces where that's being you can see like the person disappears when they're not from the video. They become nothing unless they're moving. So every time they move, you see that movement, but you don't see anything else. So if a part of their body is just standing still, then that part disappears. But if a part of their body is moving, they move. Or if their whole body moves, then they become a complete picture. And it's sort of that. It sort of highlights the idea of seeing motion, but also at the same time, it metaphorically was, I don't know, something that I kind of love. It's beautiful, a beautiful way of seeing. I just love it. It just like disappears when he stops, and reappears as he moves. And then this is a duet essentially with the video, a solo and a duet at the same time, using that disappearing movement technique. Something obviously that can't happen in real life, but there's a quality to that, ephemeral quality that is quite extraordinary. And this is sort of like, just wanted to show you some of the kinds of work that I've been doing backstage. Not backstage, but because backstage I am essentially the stage manager and the video engineer. I've built the video system that we have there, and I run the crew, and we bring in larger groups, especially like dance shows, and that's my primary role at Meany Center. And meanwhile, I've also built this visual art dance company called Zoe Juniper, and that has definitely been a part of my role, my career at Meany Center has been to have the opportunity to continue to go out and make work and tour that work nationally and internationally. So that's why I'm using this as my video concert, or as my tiny living room concert, just so you can kind of see the kinds of concerts that I do. Well, thanks for joining me, and I will see you at Meany Center soon.